what's going on? Ooh, echo, holy cow. What's going on? We got a Philly Sports Moments draft going down right now. We're going to do 5 rounds. We're going to do, introductions. And leading us off is my man, Justin. He's got the number 1 pick. Do your introduction. Where can we find you? And what's your pick, man?
Twitter handle is right. The mirroring on this thing. Twitter handle right there at @J_Persichetti. You can go find me on there. All kinds of stuff, all kinds of sports stuff, all kinds of whatever I want to post stuff. So go check that out. It's fun. Also, Sixers post-game shows for the playoffs are happening every day, after every playoff game. So make sure you come check us out right here. And to introduce our man, Austin Krell. What is up, man? How you doing?
I am sorry I was late. I was recording a podcast.
Evergreen tweet from Austin Krell. Just pin that tweet.
All right, Austin, by the way, you have the 5th pick. Justin, you have the number 1 pick. What is your selection, man? You're on the clock.
Oh, we're going already? All right. So with the number 1 pick of the draft, I'm going with the Brandon Graham strip sack on Tom Brady.
Wow.
So I know it's maybe not the number 1 pick for everybody, but for me, in that Super Bowl game, that was when I jumped out of my seat and started hugging all of my friends I was watching the game with because I was like, oh, this game's over. Mind you, there still had another play to happen later that scared the hell out of me. But that is my number 1 pick. Brandon Graham strip sacking the GOAT. The GOAT, strip sacking the GOAT. That was my number 1 pick.
Wow.
All right. Brandon Graham strip sack goes number 1, which means I am on the clock, and I am really ecstatic that it fell to me. I thought this was a lock for the number 1 pick. It is 100% the Philly special for my selection. You want Philly? Let's go, baby. It was the play that changed everything, the most ballsy play ever, and I am just so happy, so ecstatic to make it my number 1 selection. Let's roll on to Mark. You're up with the 3rd pick.
Yeah, you can follow me right there at Mark Henry Jr. _ on Twitter. And you at Tough Cover Pod on Twitter for the Tough Cover Podcast. But my 3rd pick, I'm sticking with the Eagles theme. Number 1 went off my board with the Philly special there. But it's not even on the field. It's an off-the-field moment. I'm going with Jason Kelce's speech at the parade. That was the greatest moment of my life, being there to see that 100 yards away. We pushed our way all the way to the front of it, and it was an unbelievable moment. He did the Stone Cold Steve Austin. That got my wrestling fan in me. I'm trying to pick moments that mean the most to me personally. There's another moment on the board, but I think that one just edges it out by a little bit. That speech made Jason Kelce a legend forever. Not that he shouldn't have been before that, but now even casual fans, even my mom knows who Jason Kelce is. Everyone knows who Jason Kelce is now because he had an amazing speech, and he'll have a career in Philadelphia sports, I think, for years to come.
We are probably right next to each other, man. That's what it sounds like. Number 4 selection goes to Gene. Where can we find you, man? What's your selection?
I am at Producer Gene. I am one of the co-hosts of Podadelphia. You can catch our show tomorrow, 9:15. We'll be live. Probably talking a heck of a lot of Sixers. I know Jason's going to swing by and break down some of the playoffs with us so far. I think I'm going to leave the Eagles for now. And my moment is Brad Lidge striking out Eric Hinsky to win the 2008 World Series. I'm pretty sure I had no expectations it would fall to me. I'm happy to take it off the board. But yeah, winning the 2008 World Series, the first championship I got to see in my lifetime. So yeah, I can't think of a happier moment until 2017. So,
all right, that was number 3 on my big board. Austin, you're up, man. You're on the wait. Is Austin here? Where we?
I'm right here.
There. Yeah, he's there. You're up, man.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Does college sports count?
Absolutely, 100%.
Yes.
Oh, there's going to be a homer pick here.
I would be doing myself and my people a disservice.
Is this where the North Carolina fan in me needs to get out of the room?
It would be gets it to Jenkins for the championship.
Chris Jenkins, there it is.
Off the board.
Chris Jenkins.
Freshman year
moment for me.
I had told my buddies the game was over 5 minutes before. I knew I was gonna get killed if they didn't, and Chris Jenkins saved my life. So I am indebted forever.
Shocker. Shocker. All right, let's roll on. Next up, we've got Jason Blevins. Jay Blevins. Yeah, you're up, man.
So I'm going to go. I think this will be the first non-championship moment. I think my approach to this draft is going to be the moments where everything seemed possible. And I have to go with the step over. It's the moment where it seemed like the Sixers could maybe win the whole thing against Kobe and Shaq and the Lakers. So I'm going with number 1 pick, Allen Iverson, step over Tyronn Lue. Sorry, Tyronn, it never would have worked with you as coach in Philadelphia. It never would have worked. Step over.
Step over is off the board. Now we announce our special guest is Gail Saunders of Fourth. And John, what's up, man?
Hey, man, thanks for having me. Man, you just took my step over, but you know what? I'm gonna go with the crossover of MJ. I feel like iconic moment, the arrival of Allen Iverson. I felt like that solidified, him crossing over MJ. Great moment, man.
Changing of the guard. It was like, I'm here now. Yep.
Love it, man. I had that really high. Great selection. And then we got Mike. Mike, what do you got going on, man? Where can we find you? You've got back-to-back picks here and as we start the second round.
That's very appropriate because I got back-to-back really cool podcasts this week. I've got Ala Abdel-Nabi tomorrow and Molly Sullivan on Wednesday. So a couple of good podcasts. Check out the Killing Me Smalls podcast or follow me on Twitter at Real Mike Small. And I am here for one reason, and that is to inform all of you that there were Philadelphia moments before the year 2000. And the one that was the greatest moment of my childhood. Now imagine growing up with your father as a Dodger fan and losing to the Dodgers 3 years in a row in the playoffs. And then finally in 1980, Tug McGraw strikes out Willie Wilson and the Phillies win the first championship of my lifetime. Still the most exciting day of my life, crying like a baby on the couch, tears of joy. And I got to go to one of the games of that series. It was amazing. I'm going with Willie Wilson being struck out by Tug McGraw. And going back to back here, I'm sticking with the Fightin' Phils. I was at the second Game 5 and the first Game 5 of the Phillies versus the Tampa Bay Rays, and you knew something special was going to happen when Chase Utley took that ground ball, faked it to first, and gunned the runner down at home. Damn. I'm going with the Chase Deke as my number 2 pick.
Good
Great
pick,
selection, man. Really good selection.
Damn. Mike, you said it was the most exciting day of your life, and you have how many kids and a wife?
Don't tell them. They're not going to be listening anyway. It's fine. When I was 12 years old, it was the most exciting, or 14 years old, it was the most exciting day of my life.
Fair enough.
But don't sell me out.
All right. So you had the Chase Utley throw home, correct, in the World Series?
Yes, sir.
All right. Gail, you're up, man.
It's a tough one. But I'm going to go with the Mike Vick performance against Washington.
Nice.
He put up 59 points. Vick was the first player in NFL history to have 300 passing yards and 50-plus rushing yards and 4 passing TDs and 2 rushing TDs. If you had him in fantasy, that game was one of the most amazing fantasy performances by a quarterback. I still remember all those touchdowns. That dimey through the D-Jacks on the bomb was amazing. So I got to go with that performance.
Didn't they put up like so many points in that second quarter? Man, that's nuts. Good times. All right, let's roll on to Jason.
Okay, so I think I may be playing strategy a little too early, thinking that one of my picks will fall. I'll probably be wrong. But I have to go with 4th and 26. I think for many years, people wanted to believe that Carson Wentz was better than Donovan McNabb. because McNabb's career was over, so McNabb couldn't get any better than he had been. I think it's time to look back with Donovan McNabb and appreciate what he did. 4th and 26 was straight up magical moment. Freddie and those hands, you'd like to thank him. I'd like to thank him too. I'm going with 4th and 26.
4th and 26 is off the board, and Austin, you are up.
In the grand scheme of things, this season, this play was very inconsequential, but it was still a hell of a moment. Matt Dodge kicks a line drive to Deshaun Jackson. Deshaun bobbles it and then takes it all the way to the house to beat the Giants.
D-Jack's punt return, miracle in the Meadowlands.
It's off my list. Damn it.
Oh, man. All right, this is getting real now. All right, Dean, you're up.
All right, I'm definitely going to sort of go out into the wild, and I'm going to take a Flyers moment off the board. May 4th, 2000, Keith Primo scores to put the Flyers up 2-1 in 5 overtimes against the rival Pittsburgh Penguins. So that was sort of like my where was I moment. I'll never forget sitting in a dorm room, taking smoke breaks, between every overtime. So we didn't miss a second of the action. But yeah, Keith Primo and his 5 overtime winner, I think, is a great moment.
All right, 5 overtime winner by Keith Primo. Mark, you're up, man.
I'm super happy that this got back to me. My first pick was an Eagles pick, so now I get to cross over and go with a Phillies pick. And I've had a lot of problems with Joe Buck over his career, how he's handled certain Phillies and Eagles moments, but he nailed this one. Stairs rips one into the night in the NLCS to break the tie from 5-5 to 7-5 in 2008 on our way to the World Series. That was a moment I'll never forget. It was just something you absolutely did not expect. Like, you were like, oh, Matt Stairs coming in? And then unbelievable. I think that ball's still floating out there. I was super happy to get that back to me.
Oh, man. Nicely done. All right, I went Eagles, so I'm on the clock. I went Eagles first, and I'm going to go baseball again. I'm going to pick the best pitcher I've ever watched in my entire life. And I think this is his best moment. I'm going to go the Roy Halladay postseason no-hitter versus the Reds in the 2010 NLDS. Just absolutely ridiculous performance by Roy Halladay. You're up, Justin.
Yeah, I need a second now because I put mine away because you guys both picked exactly what I was going to go back to back. Oh my goodness. Okay. So I'm going to have to go with one of the other super unexpected things that happened during the Phillies playoffs. Joe Blanton's home run in Game 4 of the World Series. That was, I think, even more unexpected than the Matt Stairs home run. So we'll go with that one.
All right, Joe Blanton home run. You're up again, man.
Oh my God, I forgot to go twice. Ooh. Oh, man. This is what I'm saying. I didn't expect y'all to go. Literally, I had 2 picks, and I was like, okay, easy. What?
This is where it gets fun, man.
Yep. Okay, so I'm going to go, and I don't think anyone took this. Another big moment in the Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl game where they were going against the Patriots, where Zach Ertz runs in, very controversial play, but Zach Ertz runs in, catches the ball, 3 steps, dives in, bobbles it, and basically was the winning touchdown of the Philadelphia Eagles game. So I'm going to go with that moment.
Love it, man. All right. Zach Ertz touchdown in the Super Bowl goes next, which means I'm on the clock. I went Eagles. I went Phillies. I'm going to go to the hockey side, and I'm going to go with my favorite play against the most hated player in Philly sports history. I'm going to go the shift, Claude Giroux knocking Sidney Crosby on his ass and then scoring a goal in the 2010 playoffs, man. Just one of the most epic moments ever back then. So Claude Giroux, the shift, is my selection, which means Mark is up.
Again, I'm super happy with what got to me. It's another part of a championship run. I'm going back to the Eagles. And as Chris Long says about the NFC Championship game against the Vikings, there's no team in NFL history that was coming into that stadium on that night and beating that team. And it was looking dicey at first. The Vikings go up 7-0. They go right down the field. But the moment everything shifted was on the Patrick Robinson pick six. What a block where he got absolutely lit up, but it created just enough space for Patrick Robinson to score. And that was really where the crowd took over that game and where the game, they never looked back. They didn't score again. They went 38 unanswered. So I think that's a super underrated moment in that Super Bowl run for the Eagles.
Love it, man. All right. Up next is Gene. You're up.
I'm going to go back to the 08 Phillies run, and I'm going to take a moment I actually got to see live. The loudest I've ever heard a stadium leading up to this moment was when a pitcher worked a walk. It was one of the craziest, most insane things to see live. To just as Brett Myers was trotting down to first base, the place going absolutely bananas.
Like 18 pitches,
and then
right?
Shane Victorino stepping up and launching a grand slam against CC Sabathia, which I can't think of anything that I've ever seen in person that quite had that much electricity to it. So I'm going to take Shane Victorino's grand slam against CC Sabathia.
All right, Victorino grand slams off the board. Next up is Austin.
Ooh. I'm gonna go in the same vein as Mark here. I'm gonna go the Foles flea flicker to Torrey Smith.
Nice. And is a lot of Eagles players are going off the board. Flea flicker to Torrey Smith is off the board. Let's go to Jason.
Okay, I'm feeling good. I've got Sixers. I've got Eagles. I'm going to go Phillies now. Going back to Mark's point about the Kelsey speech. For me, 2008 World Series champions, Chase Utley at the parade. World fucking champions. Chase Utley's speech, world fucking champions. PH, though, for the PG rating.
Just a second, Gene. What did you pick again?
I picked the Chase Utley grand slam was my last pick.
No, it's Shane Victorino.
Yeah.
Oh, Shane. Yes, Shane Victorino. Yes.
All right. And then Jason, you picked what? World effing champions.
PH and champions, yes.
Gail, you're up.
Let's see. There's so many, but I think Chuck McNair's hit on Frank Gifford. Not that I saw that play live, but as a kid and being an Eagle fan, at one play I blew that poster up on my wall, and it's one of those iconic photos that that dude was tough as nails, and you got to show respect to the elders. So I'm gonna go with that one, knocking out Frank Gifford.
Shout out to the second pre-2000 reference.
See, I'm trying to go old school.
Frank Gifford. Goodness, I don't even know what to write on this one. Showing my age here, I guess. I don't know.
It's the best photo ever.
Mike, you're up.
All right, so I'm gonna shake it up a little bit. This one was a really exciting thing when I was young. Again, I'm going old school. I'm going Flyers on this. I loved Bobby Clark. And in 1976, the Flyers played an exhibition game against the Red Army, and they beat them 4-1. Clarkie's face was all bloody. He looked terrible, but had that big old smile with one or two teeth sticking out. And the Flyers showed the Russians who was boss, a 4-1 win over the Red Army. I'm going with that as my next moment, Flyers moment. And then going back to back here, I'm going Eagles. 1980 NFC Championship game. Wilbur Montgomery around the right side, 41 yards for the touchdown to beat the hated Dallas Cowboys and go on to the Super Bowl and absolutely choke against the Raiders.
All right, Eagles versus Cowboys.
Wilbert Montgomery, 41-yard touchdown run.
Over here. All right, Gail, you're up, dude.
I'm going to go with AI's practice.
Nice.
I just think, again, man, like it kind of sums up his career. He wasn't a practice player, but he was an MVP. And I just think that speech alone, my family talks about it like religiously. Like my dad is in his 80s, and he knows it word by word. I told him about this thing we were doing tonight. He's like, "You got to do the practice. You got to do the practice." So this one's for my pops. Okay.
Yep. It's a great one to tell in a bar if you're ever around people that vaguely know Philadelphia. Tell that story, and it's like you got everybody.
100%. All right, let's keep it rolling, guys. We're doing great on time here. Jason, you're up.
All right. See, now I have to think about strategy. Do I think something will fall? I got lucky last time. All right. I'm going to go, I think, with oof. All right. Okay. I think these are going to fall. So I'm going to go with an easy one. Wilt Chamberlain's 100 points.
All right.
By the way,
points.
There's no confirmed record of that ever actually happening.
100 points. There's a photo of it. Look it up.
March
points.
2nd, 1962 against the Knicks.
You can't prove it didn't happen.
Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Hershey, PA.
All right.
That literally was going to be my next pick.
Austin, you're
Nice
up.
work.
This I can prove happened because there's TV evidence of it. Andre Iguodala goes to the rim. It's fouled.
That's so funny. Oh
Goes to the line for 2 free throws against the Bulls, makes both to send the Sixers into the second round of the playoffs.
You know
So
what?
you may not know this, but when you were late,
Yeah,
that was going to be your pick.
we were going to give you that pick if you didn't show up for your entire.
That's awesome.
That's so funny.
You guys know me too well. Last week I played my hand.
See.
All right. Dean, you're up.
All right, I'm gonna. Growing up, my hero was Randall Cunningham, and I often tried to mimic his moves as a 6 and 7 year old in the backyard. Which, as you imagine, being that I'm already sort of chubby and white, it probably didn't look nearly as exciting as when he did it. But he threw a 95-yard pass to Arkansas Freddie Barnett against the Bills that I have replayed in slow motion since it happened in my brain. I have that grainy footage sort of imprinted on the back of my retina. I have a feeling that if I lose every other memory, that might be the one that remains. So Randall Cunningham's 95-yard toss to Arkansas Fred in Buffalo.
After
be my
Bruce
moment.
Smith whiffed somehow, some way, Reynolds knew he was coming up from behind and just ducked. And Bruce Smith in the end zone flew over him, and he stands up and just launches probably 70 yards in the air, right?
Yep.
Insane.
Unbelievable.
All right. I got to think about what I'm doing here. Mark, you're up.
I'm going with one from a little earlier in my lifetime. I'm sticking with the Eagles theme with 3 Eagles picks. It's my last one, but Brian Westbrook, Miracle at the Meadowlands 2 against the Giants. My family was at Hershey Park for that game, and they have like a restaurant inside the park that had TVs at the time, and we ended up staying there for like the entire fourth quarter. And Brian Westbrook saved the season that day.
Nice.
Going forward, that was an unbelievable thing. I'll always remember. It's one of like the plays from my childhood that I remember the most.
All right. A return touchdown versus the Giants to Mark, which means I am on the board. I've got a good balance so far, but I'm going to keep it rolling. I'm going to go on the football side. I'm going to go my favorite player of all time, and that is Brian Dawkins. And what I'm going to do is his speech when the Eagles beat the Falcons in the NFC Championship game in 2005, when he said, "Give me some respect." and we brought it. We came and brought it every doggone plant night. That was just, I remember being on such a high during that time. I'm going the Brian Dawkins speech with my next selection, and that means, Justin, you got back-to-back picks.
Got back-to-back picks, and it's going to be my last pick as well, correct?
No, you'll have, wait, how many? Hold on.
Fourth and fifth pick, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
This is it.
All right, this is it. So here's the tough thing. Like I said, I am the youngest one here, so a lot of the picks y'all are picking are a little bit older, a little bit to stuff that I wouldn't know necessarily. So I'm sticking with the new age, some more stuff as well. I gotta go. One of the picks will be Jimmy Butler getting the steal in that last game against Toronto, where honestly, to me, I was super excited in that play. And as much as the ending of that sucked, in that moment, I was super pumped. And also, I thought he was going to be on the team after that. So to me, that's one of them. And then I'm also going to go with another baseball one. 2006, Aaron Rowan running into the center field fence. I forget what did he break? Because he broke something. But
broke his nose against the Mets.
Yep.
Great game.
Broke his nose, several lacerations to the face, and ended up going to the DL after that play. So we'll go that. We'll do that.
Love it, love it, love it. I'm up next, and yeah, I'm going to go just a standard play, but this selection gives me one of my favorite players of all time, but also gives me one of my favorite broadcasters of all time. No disrespect to Mark Zumoff. That is Harry Kalas. I'm going the Chase Utley, you are the man play. When Utley caught everyone by surprise, stole home, and Harry Kalas gave that amazing comment saying, Chase Utley, you are the man. That is my last selection. Let's go on.
Nice one.
I forgot about that play.
Zumoff just logged off. He's very upset. Viewer count. Zumoff has been on the show, though, Dibs.
He said you just turned garbage into gold.
Yeah, you just turned gold into garbage, Dibs.
Love it. Mark, you're up, dude.
I'm going a bit off the board here because I have a bit of a crazy story to share with it. It's an off-the-field moment. I'm going with Cliff Lee signing with the Phillies after his first stint there. So this is a crazy story. The night before, not the night before, we didn't know. We woke up to it. My house was broken into that night, the night before, and robbed. My dad woke me. I was a kid. My dad woke me up in the morning and said, "I have good news and bad news." And I was like, "What's the news?" He goes, "Well, the bad news is our house got robbed. They just stole laptops, like whatever. Nothing in mind, so whatever." And then the good news was that we signed Cliff Lee. So that was a crazy morning in the Henry house. Cliff Lee was my favorite player. I had a shirt of him from the first stint. So it was just a wild. You never expected him to come back after we traded him, after getting Roy Halladay, and then having both, and then eventually trading for Oswalt. You already had Hamels. We didn't end up winning a title with that team, which is unbelievable, but it was still the start of a crazy run in Phillies baseball.
That's a good one, man.
Cliff Lee signs with the Phillies. Gene, you're up.
I'm going to take the moment was Joe Pisarcik was quarterback for the Giants. He was supposed to complete a handoff so that to Larry Zonka, I believe was the fullback. They mishandle the exchange. Herman Edwards runs it in for a touchdown. That is Miracle at the Meadowlands 1.
All right.
All three are gone.
Miracle in the Meadowlands number 1 goes to Gene. Hold on a sec. My screen just screwed up here. You are up. Jesus. Hold on a sec. You are up, Austin.
We're going to go with Joel Embiid's first shot in his debut, the turnaround shimmy shake from the free throw line to get the crowd going in his debut.
Huge.
What'd you say, Jimmy Butler?
Joel Embiid, shimmy
Joel
shake.
Embiid's first shot.
I damn sure didn't say Jimmy Butler. That's for
versus OKC?
Yes.
Yep.
All right, got it.
Huge
you're up, Jason.
I actually feel a little better because, Austin, I was really struggling because that is such a significant moment that we'll realize 10 years from now how significant it was. But I guess I will just round out. I don't have a Flyers pick yet. And I'll go back pre-2000 from Mike and say there was about a 4-day period where I think it was Quebec and Philadelphia both argued they thought they had a deal in place for Eric Lindros's rights.
The New York Rangers, Quebec was trading him, and the Rangers and Flyers. Quebec made a deal with both teams.
Yep.
But the
There you go.
Flyers
They made a deal with both teams, and the commissioner had to resolve that, and it lasted a few days, if I recall. And right around the middle of the afternoon, in like the middle of summer, this got resolved, if I remember correctly. So the moment the Flyers found out they acquired Eric Lindros, that franchise went from also ran to contender. They never won it, but they were legitimate contenders for the next, half a dozen years. So Eric Lindros's acquisition.
All right, Eric Lindros to the Flyers. Gail, you're up, man. Last pick.
Oh, man, I had a couple. Let's see, I'm going to go Monet Davis. She's the first girl to win a Little League World Series game as a pitcher, and the first girl to toss a shutout in Little League postseason history. It's a slept-on story, but, I mean, she represented the city well. She made her rounds to every single show out there. You name it. She was a hero to little girls all across the country and the city. So that's my slept-on pick there.
Yo, fun fact.
Definitely better than the Villanova pick.
That's a
Fun
great,
fact about Monet.
great pick. Fantastic pick.
Fun fact about Monet Davis: I actually umpired one of her games when she was I don't remember how many years ago this was, but she was playing around here in a tournament that system that I help run, and I got to umpire one of her games while she was pitching.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
She threw some heat, man. 70 miles an hour back then.
From 48 feet, too. That's sizzle right there.
All right, Mike, you're up, man. Last pick, and then we'll go to the post-game show.
Oh, it's me?
It's you, dude.
Okay.
Wait,
Well,
yeah.
The good news is, since there's no one after me, I can tell you the ones I was thinking about picking. Because it won't throw anybody out. I can't believe nobody picked anything in either of the Flyers Stanley Cup wins. Nobody picked the Cliff Lee game against the Yankees when he made that catch. That was on my list.
Yeah, it's on my list.
I personally would have picked Brett Brown getting fired, but that's a personal thing. How about, you ready for this? Watching the NBA Finals and seeing something come through on Twitter. Burnergate. I'm going Burnergate.
Wow.
It was on my list.
Brian Colangelo and all the burners.
Brian Jacobs.
I was
BMJ.
obsessed with that. I could not. I was at work. I was at a hotel for work. And for 4 or 5 straight days, I thirsted for every article I could find. It was, to me, the coolest thing. I don't know why, but I loved it. And I loved the result, too. And there you go. I'm going Burnergate as my final pick.
What a fascinating thing that was.
It was so cool.
I almost feel like in this, it's
Didn't Sixers Twitter break that?
Did that ever happen before that? Like, had it ever happened where a front office member got
no.
I mean, Kevin
But 3
Durant's burner, that was
3 years
it.
later, I think it would be a scandal if I found out that a front office didn't have burners at this point. It's only been 3 years since that, but if I found out that the Washington Wizards had no burner accounts, I'd call them incompetent.
But I think that there's a difference between burner accounts and then burner accounts posing as a homeless parking attendant at the Wells Fargo Center.
Yeah, it was.
And talking about how good of a person Brian Colangelo is.
It was so fascinating. The content was so compelling and fascinating.
And it's still interesting to go back and look at different, when he takes shots at Gerson Rosas and shots at Masai Ujiri and it's just, there's stuff it's still good content in there. It's fascinating.
Yeah, it's really good content.
Why did he censor the word "but"? Like, I mean, it's the word "but." You don't have to put the asterisk.
All right,
guys.
He's a boob man.
Should we just roll in the post game? If anybody wants to leave, feel free.
I gotta go eat.
All right, all good.
So, although I will say right before we get into that, I am very disappointed in my second to last pick, but it's okay. I'm over it. It's all right.
Here's your selection. Just how would you grade your team right here?
I like my first three and in my last one. I'm regretting the fourth pick a little bit. Because especially after you said the Chase Utley, you are the man one, I was like, oh, I wish I would have taken that one. But but yeah, overall, give myself like a B-.
All right. This is where it gets fun, where we trash talk and all that kind of stuff. Does anybody have any hot takes and grades on Justin's team right here? Brandon Graham, strip sack, Blanton home run, Ertz diving touchdown catch, Jimmy Butler steal, Aaron Rowan breaks his nose. Anybody have quick thoughts on it?
I'm going to give him an A for the all-decade team that we could be doing, but I'll give him a B for the overall Philly sports moment.
Okay. Anybody else?
I just don't like to think of anything in that Raptors series because it brings, especially the play right before the most heartbreaking play of my lifetime.
Yeah, and I think Jimmy Butler was self-serving and infuriating in that series, and I think he made himself look good, but his decisions to me were infuriating. And in Game 1 the other night with the Heat, I felt the same way.
I did too. I said the same thing, Jason, watching that game. He made the layup, but he sucked throughout the game.
Yeah, you can't call that a clutch layup. Like he drove right, didn't get guarded, and no help defense showed up. Of course he's going to lay that up.
Yep.
But the shots he chose not to take, he put on the brakes a couple of times, didn't see contact, didn't look like he wanted to shoot, looked like he was scared. It still went 4 for 22. But other than that, he had a great game. But I think the Brandon Graham strip sack was the moment where you knew that game was actually that Super Bowl was actually going to happen.
I think it's when the tears started flowing after.
It was like, oh, this is actually happening.
Yeah, 100%. Like when that ball's in Tom Brady's hands, like it was just every single play, and then the strip sack, like someone said, I just fell to the ground crying.
I didn't buy it until the Hail Mary fell.
Does anybody have to like leave soon, and then we'll like quickly go over their team first?
I can hang about 15 minutes. Does that help?
Sure. All right, so we'll just go to my. So that should be plenty of time. I've got the Philly special. I've got the Roy Halladay no hitter. I've got the Claude Giroux making Sidney Crosby his bitch. I've got Brian Dawkins' speech in 2005, and I've got the "You Are the Man" Harry Callis call there. I'm really happy about my team. I think I've got some big time Philly favorites, which I went for. That was my goal here, to end up with all of these guys. Most notably, like from Dawkins to Utley to Roy Halladay, and I'm just really ecstatic to get the Philly special. Anybody want to grade my team or any hot takes?
Yeah, I mean, you got some good ones. I mean, the Harry Callis call, that was a great one. I think the Philly special is iconic. Roy Halladay, I think you had, you had the no hitter, and then you had the perfect game too. Like they're both amazing. I don't know hockey, so I'll let that slide. And the Brian Dawkins speech was pretty epic. That was another moment when I started crying for no reason. We were going to the Super Bowl, and I thought he's the perfect guy to get that speech. So I give you a B+.
The top moments for each sport. You've got definitely one of the top two for each one. I don't know about the Brian Dawkins speech, but the other ones for sure.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is you've got a lot of very tattooable moments. Like there are people walking around with the Philly special play design. How I've seen people with Roy Halladay on their forearms from that NLDS. How many people have got "You Are the Man" on their biceps, and it's not for them, it's for Chase Utley. I mean, you have got an amazing amount of tattooable moments. I'm surprised that nobody took the Claude Giroux game-winning goal in the Stanley Cup Finals against the game winner that he had in Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Finals against might have been Game 5 actually against the Blackhawks. He was a lot younger, but I mean that's a pretty huge thing to have on your resume as an overtime game winner in a Stanley Cup Finals game. But I mean, we all know Claude Giroux is pretty much sort of defined by the shift. That's sort of been his calling card. So I can see sort of why we went, why you landed on that one. But overall, real solid squad.
Oh, snap.
That's my coaster right now. It's the Philly special.
See?
Love it.
I thought for sure that was going first. Oh, for sure.
That was a great
Me
one.
too. Before we started, I thought for sure Justin was going to take the Philly special. I was definitely really worried. The other play I was going to go over the Dawkins speech because I had to get Dawkins on my team. That was a major priority for me. Was the hit on Algie Crumpler? It was either that or the speech, and I went with the speech because it just was. I don't know. It's so memorable for me. Any other comments before we roll on to Mark? Nope. Okay, Mark, explain your team.
Yeah, the first pick I loved. That was number 2 on my board. The second pick was number 4 on my board. So I loved getting Jason Kelce and Matt Stairs because I remember those are touch point moments. Like, where were you when this happened? Same with the Patrick Robinson pick 6. And all 3 of them had something to do with a title. So that was I wanted to get some championship moments on there. The Brian Westbrook punt return touchdown is one from I know it's Mike's gonna make fun of me for saying this is dating myself to the early 2000s, but going back to my early childhood at least instead of the 2010s. And I kind of regret my last pick. I thought that the story was funny. I kind of wish I would have went with the double doink or maybe 44-6 over the Cowboys.
Nice.
But the 44-6 one was the one I didn't really know how to pick because it also has like 2 other teams that we needed to losing, and then we win 44-6. I know there's a big Brian Dawkins play, but I didn't know about like one play or one moment. It was kind of a confluence of events that led to us making the playoffs that time and going to the NFC Championship. But I already had 3 Eagles moments. I kind of wish I would have went with a 4th, but I don't regret it too much. I love.
Don't regret that Cliff Lee one, man. That was an exciting time, especially because he almost went to the Yankees, and the fact that we were able to not outbid, but for somebody to choose the Phillies over the Yankees was such a big deal, and it was a player that nobody wanted to lose. Everybody thought Ruben Amaro was on crack when he traded him after getting Roy Halladay. So, nah, man, that was a big moment.
Well, didn't he have to trade him to get Roy Halladay?
No, he didn't. They said that he said, and I still think it was an ownership decision to try to even out the money a little bit. But he said that he had bled the minor leagues to make all the trades that they had made the last couple of years and needed to get prospects back, which was kind of a terrible reason, actually. And they still didn't get crap for him.
And it cost them a World Series. I'm never going to believe that it didn't cost them a World Series. That extra year with the 2 of them together would have put them over the top.
They would have beaten the Giants in 2010, no question.
And didn't Cliff Lee choose the Phillies because his wife and family had been at the game and the Yankees fan treated them like garbage?
They spit at her.
Well, it was that, and I had heard that they had a child who was ill, and they got amazing care at CHOP, and they wanted to be close to that as well. That was something I'd heard, but he really liked the city.
I was at the Brian Westbrook punt return game. It was pretty amazing.
All right.
And there's so many Flyers moments we left out.
Yeah.
Oh, and just because no one else is going to mention it, and I wanted to take it because it's one of the most electric games I've ever been at. But the TJ McConnell game winner over the Knicks has to get an honorable mention. I'm a big TJ McConnell guy. Him jumping up in the air and doing like the MJ thing, it's an all-time moment for me.
But I was Googling top moments today, and that came up, and I was like, "You've got to be kidding me! That's one of the top moments." Over rocking the baby with Dr. J and winning the '83 championship.
Rocking the baby.
DJ McDonald.
Also,
McConnell, I mean.
One more, because I think I have to get out of here in a minute. One more honorable mention. It's not in Philadelphia professional sports, but Rocky Balboa did beat Ivan Drago and pretty much ended the Cold War. So like that has to be something that gets listed on the Philadelphia sports achievements.
I love it. Just quick grades. Like I think this is a solid B+. Your top 3, Mark, are bangers, man. These are really iconic moments that I will never forget. Anybody want to quickly grade Mark's team before we move on?
Give him a B+.
Solid B+, yeah.
All right. Mike, do you want to go next?
Sure.
All right. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, man. So, listen, I was looking at this thing holistically in terms of what are the greatest Philadelphia moments of all time. And the first world championship ever for the Phillies was amazing, which was the first championship in the city in forever. The Chase Utley play in the World Series was just crazy. There's probably a bunch of hockey ones we could have done that could have been better. Maybe, I can think of 2 or 3 from the win against Buffalo in the Stanley Cup, but I was like 5, but in any or 7 or something like that. But I remember watching. But to me, man, just when the Flyers beat the Russians, that just meant so much. And then, the first great Eagles team after Dick Vermeil had that team and brought them to prominence, and that was the play that launched them into the Super Bowl with Wilbert. And I've already done a lot of discussion about Burner Gate. I'm standing on that one. So that's my 5.
Anybody have quick grades on Mike's team?
I feel like if there's such a thing as like an A, that's pretty much an A squad. It's pretty well represented. It's got all of the, you can sort of visually see all of those moments in your brain. You can even see Colangelo behind a desk with that awesome collar.
Very
Just
normal.
muttering to himself. Find a new take.
I think the Burner Gate is a nice. That's a sleeper.
And you want to hear something cool? The last 2 numbers on my wife's cell phone are 91.
Wait,
True
Mike,
story.
seriously, my wife's 91 also.
That's awesome.
It could have been any of us.
Mike, I think you have a really good team here. The only concern I have is the voting. I think there's definitely a fear of voting with your squad. You went old school. They typically do not get votes, but you definitely nailed it with memorable moments. Anybody else have a quick grades on Mike's squad here?
I just like the Bobby Clark versus the Russian national team. I think that's probably the best moment in Flyers history. Maybe the Stanley Cups, but I don't know. It's a pretty good one, especially.
Can I give you a quick Bobby Clark story?
Yeah, real quick.
When I was in college, I worked at Bobby Clark's day camp for 3 years and got to know him and his wife and his son and his daughter, 2 sons and his daughter, and they're just awesome. And it was cool getting to know one of my idols.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, let's roll. Let's go back. Does anybody else need to go sooner than later? Anybody else in a rush? No? Okay. We'll go back to Gene. Tell us about your team, man.
Yeah, so luckily at 4, I was able to get Brad Lidge winning the 08 World Series. I feel like that's, kind of cross-generational. I think, the old guys, the young guys, everybody's gonna have a place in their heart for that one. Keith Primo's 5 overtime goal, I feel like that's one of the modern great moments in Flyers history. I think there's a lot of people that are going to remember where they were when that game ended. Because it was just so unique to have happen. Victorino's grand slam may not be as high on some other people's list, but since I was physically there, it sort of gave me it's sort of higher for me. And still, just that whole lead up to that at bat, sort of it gets all encompassed in that home run. Randall Cunningham was my favorite player growing up, and that's maybe, if not his signature play, certainly in his top 5. And then Miracle at the Meadowlands #1. If you're going to have a greatest moments in Philly sports, and you can get one of the 2 miracles, I feel like you're doing okay.
All right.
See, I love your team, Gene. I love it. I think you got everything. You got some of the most recent stuff. Definitely when you think about the Primo goal and Victorino's grand slam and those are all just electrifying moments. I think you crushed it.
I love that. I love that Randall play. I actually we had Fred Barnett on our podcast. He was like explaining the play verbatim, and it was just amazing to hear him talk about it. And then when Randall, who was it? Bruce Smith, when he ducked out of that was amazing, dude.
Yeah,
Like
I think we
eyes
don't
behind
give
his head.
we don't give Fred Barnett enough credit for winning that jump ball. Basically, like he made a hell of a play and then took off and ran the other 40 yards or whatever. Like he won a jump ball to make that play too. That was just an amazing play.
And this was this was not like some scrub Bills team. You know what I mean? Like this was the architecture of what would be a team that would go on to go after 4 Super Bowls, lose 4 Super Bowls. But that was a great team. It wasn't just some bunch of upstate New York losers.
I was going to add the 91-yard punt by Randall. That was also epic.
That's a good one.
We should do a whole pod just on Randall Cunningham magic.
I got his picture right here, man. He's my guy.
My first ever Eagles game was Monday night against the Giants in 1988, where he got hit. I was in the end zone where he got hit in the knee, put a hand down, stood up, and then threw it into the end zone.
Oh, I remember that play.
Yeah, it was like that was the moment where you thought
Carl Banks, right?
Buddy Ryan's team is Carl Banks, right?
Yeah.
This Buddy Ryan's team is special. Like they had some pieces, and they went from being like I don't know what they were in '87, 5-11, to being a 10-6 playoff team. That was that moment. It was amazing. Randall was
Gail. One of my honorable mentions. That had we maybe gone another round, I would have stuck on there. Maybe you'll appreciate this one. The Pepper Johnson, the Keith Byers Pepper Johnson block.
And he points. He points.
That was one of the. I was at that game. I was on that. I was the end zone where that's coming from, and you could you can see Keith Byers like in my mind's eye. I see him coming, and I've never seen a block like that. I still to this day, it was just. And the sound was incredible.
That was amazing, man.
And to find out after the fact that they were like college roommates or something and like best friends, and the fact that Byers just absolutely blew him up. Just a great play.
Yeah, it's an amazing play.
All right, let's go on to Austin. Tell us about your team, man. Austin, you're muted, man.
Always got to ruin the moment, don't I? As you can tell by my picks, definitely a basketball flavor here. Could not exclude my alma mater in that, and especially one of the most iconic shots in basketball history. But I also had to get in some very good Eagles moments as well. I would have included the Phillies, but a lot of them were already taken by the time I wanted to get to them. I would have included one. Would have been the Carlos Ruiz double to beat the Dodgers, but too late. The Foles flea flicker was obviously an awesome one. Iggy's free throws were incredible. There was a very sentimental moment in my childhood for sure. But the Joel Embiid shot was sort of just the perfect encapsulation of what was to come in the future with him, and certainly marked the moment where he had overcome so much in his life and in his early career. So that was a big moment for all of Philadelphia. We just didn't really know it at the time.
I low-key love this team. I think you're going to get a lot of votes here with this squad. You got Djax, Nick Foles. People love Nick Foles. Embiid's first appearance, man. His first shake. And then, I take it back. I give it an F. You've got Villanova on your team. Anybody else have a grade on this team?
I'm going to give it a solid B+. I think the Chris Jenkins will tug at heartstrings. The Djax punt return is iconic. I think Embiid right now, that's perfect timing.
I just feel like we have to disqualify him because Villanova is not a Philadelphia school.
That's you know what? That's a very valid argument. I wouldn't against you.
So it's like,
But I will say this. No one from Philly had a problem coming up to the main line that night to celebrate. I'll tell you that much. We'll leave it at that.
Austin wants all the smoke.
Let's go on to Jason. Tell us about your team, man.
All right, so I left so many on the board, but I I wanted to really go for those moments where everything seemed possible. So that's where I started, right? That's why I love the Joel Embiid debut. I think that one will age really well. There are those moments that because Philadelphia has so few championships, I think we hold on to those moments where we can hope that it's actually going to happen. The step over for me is one of the most iconic moments. I love the practice speech too. But that was sort of at the end of an era. That sort of marks the beginning of the end of that era. But the Allen Iverson step over was, it's just indescribable. In that moment when it happened, to think that they could walk into LA and beat Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal and a super talented team with one of the greatest pound for pound heroes of all time in sports. 4th and 26. I mean, just again, like I said, you have to give. As frustrating as Donovan McNabb may have been at times in his career, because you saw how great he could be. The truth is, he is the best quarterback in Eagles history. He just is by virtually any measure. So you want to respect that. And he had moments of magical play like a Randall Cunningham, but if you put the stats together, he was more consistent. He was more accurate. So I want to respect. Randall is my favorite Eagles offensive player of all time. Childhood hero, but McNabb gets that. Chase Utley, I just feel like that moment where he exclaimed that encapsulates why people love Chase Utley so much. It's why people gravitate and love TJ McConnell. It's why people loved Jimmy Butler. There's that edge, that raw emotion that they don't care who's looking, if the cameras are on or not, they're going to say what they feel. And that encapsulates for me the most iconic Philly of Philly's moments. Wilt Chamberlain, 100 points. I mean, it's the only time it's ever been done. No one's even scored. I think 81 is the next highest, Kobe Bryant, in a game. You got to throw that on the list. And then just to round it out, Flyers acquiring Eric Lindros was the moment where it seemed like the Flyers could really turn into a Stanley Cup contender, and they did. They put a hell of a team around Lindros, and they got really close. They had some frustrating moments, and he had some head injuries, but that was a hell of a moment in Flyers history.
You got so much balance on this team. Does anybody have grades or quick thoughts on Jason's team?
I think it's a great list. I think, I don't do hockey, but the first four picks, they make up for that whole list. I'd give it an A. I just think overall those are super iconic. I was going to do the step over before you said it. So, I feel that was iconic play right there. And then just was a great 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you went hockey on me. But overall, I think it's still an A.
I had World Effing Champions really high on my board. I was hoping it would drop a little bit. Anybody else have any quick grade? I think it's solid, like A-. I'm not gonna lie. I remember
you went all sports though too. You went all
that?
Sports. You want all different sports on his list too.
Yeah.
The only other thing I wanted to say is with the step over, it's sort of like this is a city that worships a heavyweight fighter who was in a movie and lost in the first movie. You know what I mean? Like the Allen Iverson step over is sort of the real life equivalent to that. You know what I mean? It was this elated moment in a series that eventually didn't result in a championship, but just sort of to bloody the champ's nose, especially that Lakers team. I think we were that 01 team was the only of that sort of dynasty, the Kobe and Shaq dynasty. I think they were the only team to take a finals game off of that squad. Every other team that faced them just got swept out. So to go to their place in game one and bloody their nose and make them feel a little bit of anxiety, and to have such an iconic moment live on as a team that didn't win that title. That's the moment you remember from 01. You don't remember really anything else that happened in that series, but everybody who watches the NBA, not just Philadelphia Sixers fans, everybody knows the step over.
I legit remember where I was in the top 3 picks here, Jason, and like the Iverson step over. I remember the next day, like walking in the halls of my high school, just like completely invincible. Like it was David versus Goliath. It was so symbolic of Iverson's career. Like this little 150-pound guy just beats Shaquille O'Neal in LA. It was just awesome. But let's go on to. Oh, does anybody have any other thoughts or grades on Jason's team? No.
I'll give it a C plus. mostly because there is no evidence that one of those items even occurred.
There are newspaper reports and photography. That is all the evidence.
But
anything before 1960 ever happened
from that game.
Austin's about
Austin, do you deny that sports existed before 1960?
No, never happened.
Right.
Never actually happened.
So okay. Should we revisit the
I have a aunt who would tell the family that she slept with Wilt Chamberlain.
I mean,
we didn't see that happen, and we have to just take her word for it. And as a family, we're like, you're one of the 10,000 on that list. We still don't look at that the same way.
Dale's aunt is a very honorable lady. I believe her.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah. All right, let's roll on. Gail, tell us about your team, man.
Obviously, I was going to go step over, but I thought the crossover was equally iconic. MJ being who he is as a icon, in having your own Allen Iverson, being just an underdog himself, crossover one of the greats, not once but like twice in that play, and just making it. I think just that was his crowning moment to everyone that I've arrived, and even MJ knows it. I think Vic, his redemption story, obviously some fans might feel a certain way, but I feel like just in terms of that game, he almost had a perfect rating as a quarterback that game. Just coming from being locked up to, hitting the field for the Eagles and destroying them, and just a moment of like, no, that's my Eagles squad that just you could always bring that game again. You can bring that game up against your friends that love Washington and rub it in their faces. And that's also a fantasy football moment. That's one of the best fantasy football performances ever in a game. So I also owned him, on my fantasy team. So that was a win-win. I think Chuck Bednarik knocked out Frank Gifford, although didn't see that play. It just was one of those plays that just kind of is epitome of what tough-nosed Eagle defense was. And I just, as a kid, I just blew that poster up on my wall, and it was just iconic to me. But you could, that's the kind of play you couldn't do now. Like dude's knocked out, he's standing over him and talking shit to a guy who's knocked out. You couldn't do that now. Like it's just like a gritty play. Just love it. I think the Allen Iverson practice speech. Although it was some people were like, they didn't like his practice habits. It was an iconic moment, which was funny. Again, my dad utters the words like maybe 3 times a week. He just loves it to death. It's part of a joke that me and my family talk about forever. I just think it just kind of explained his storied career. Monet Davis, I think that was not only was a great Philadelphia story, but worldwide it was accepted amongst across that story was just viral, and I think for a little girl to represent the city so well, like she did, visiting the president, and just dominating a boys' sport as a girl. Great message out there. So I wanted to round out my list with that moment.
That's my favorite pick, the Monet Davis pick, 100%. Like, I have a daughter, and like, I want her to be a pitcher so bad. That is like everything I want her to grow up at. I love that selection. The crossover of MJ. Did you ever see that like little segment where Iverson's talking about his that game versus Michael Jordan, and he was so like absorbed over Michael Jordan's shoes? Did everybody hear that?
Oh yeah.
He was like, he's got the Jordans. Like, it was so great. Obviously, Allen Iverson's one of my favorite players. I give this a solid B+. Anybody else have grades, thoughts on Gale's squad?
I love that crossover, and I wonder if that was the first time Michael Jordan showed signs of age. You know, where it might be like, ooh, maybe this.
I don't remember seeing anyone do that to him. Like,
yeah, that was like 97, 98 when that happened, right?
Yeah,
97. Yeah.
I mean, he was like a superhero. I mean, he still was, but I'm just saying, like, he never got like that. So the fact that one of our guys did that to him, I was like,
and well known as the best defensive player in the NBA, didn't win a lot of defensive player of the years because it typically went to centers back then, but was regarded as the lockdown guy you could throw out in a big moment and just lock up the other team's star. And this rookie comes out there and just puts it on him like that. It's schoolyard style. It's wild.
Man.
I think the Monet Davis thing, I've always used that as my argument. If you ever have the debate of which of the four major sports do we think that you're going to see that, like, the glass ceiling shatter for, I've always used Monet Davis as my example that I really do believe in my lifetime we're going to see, at least in the minor leagues, a female pitcher. And I would love to see, her be good enough to make the show. The amount of good that would do probably, for this country to see that sort of story. I mean, I just can't imagine that there would be people that would root against it, no matter what team it happened for. I think everybody would want to see her come in and do well. So that Monet Davis that is something that I go to a lot to lean on to say, like, it's going to be a girl pitcher. That's what's going to break the ceiling.
Now, I don't want to date this podcast, but I will say the Miami Heat could use Monet Davis right now because they are.
I was just going to bring it.
Destroyed.
They're down. They have given up 46 points in the first quarter, down 28 points right now.
I love it.
They're getting destroyed.
I want to drink tears.
Take that, Jimmy Butler.
Yeah. All right. Before we wrap it up, the one pick that I really wanted to see go was Smarty Jones. I was hoping someone would go like out of left field and pick a horse. That would have been so fun. But anyway, anybody have any final thoughts before we wrap this up? Good. All right. So what's going to go down next is I'm going to throw all of these teams into a bracket. I'll probably do team grades tonight and like each individual and see how kind of people react to everyone's teams. And then tomorrow we'll throw them into a bracket. It'll be a single elimination bracket. I don't have the seedings out yet, but I will. And it'll be, player versus player, and it'll be voted. The winners will be voted on Twitter by everyone here. So I just want to say thank you, Gale, for joining, man. Thank you so much for joining.
Man, thanks for having me.
Yeah, check out 4th and John. Please follow my man on Twitter at Eagle Sessions. I guess, let's wrap it up. For Jason, for Austin, for Gene, for Gale, thanks for watching, guys.